The day my father threw out Grandpa Henry's box, he didn't know I was watching. Or maybe he did. He never liked being watched. It was raining, not the dramatic thunderstorm kind, just that bleak, needle-thin drizzle that makes everything look like it's about to disappear. He walked out to the curb in his trench coat, the same one he wore to Grandpa's funeral 2 weeks ago. No ombrelle. Just the box clutched in one hand like dead weight. He didn't hesitate. Lit krekt. A paper fluttered out. He didn't stop to catch it, just tossed the whole thing into the trash, turned around, and walked back inside without so much as a glance. I waited, counted to 50, then slipped out barefoot and cold, grabbed the wet box from the bin, and dragged it back into the garage. Inside, one faded map, a broken compass, a yellowed photo of a beach house under a stormy sky, and a key. No note, no instructions, just a hand-scrawled address on the back of the photo. Cape Wrath, North Carolina. He left me something. He left me something they weren't supposed to see. That night, I heard voices behind my door. Muffled. Urgent. She's asking questions. She won't find anything. She's too much like him. My name is Celeste Marlowe. I'm 26, a temp in a coffee-stained law office with a college degree my father never acknowledged. The forgotten daughter in a family of legacy, assets, and names engraved in brass. I never belonged in their world, but maybe I belonged in his. 2 days later, I got into my car at midnight and started driving south toward the Atlantic. No goodbyes. Just the key on a chain around my neck and a gut feeling that I was finally doing something real. They say truth is buried for a reason. I say someone needs to dig. The house was exactly like the photo. Weathered. Silent. Perched on the edge of the ocean like it was daring the sea to take it. I parked. Climbed the rotting porch steps. Slipped the key into the rusted lock. Click. The door creaked open. A gust of sea air hit me like a slap. And then a low, mechanical were from deep inside. Not the wind. A camera. I wasn't alone. The camera was old. 90s maybe. Hidden behind a slat in the hallway beam. Red light blinking faint through the dust. It whirred once, then stopped like it had been triggered. Like it was waiting for me. I didn't move. For a second, I told myself it could have been broken. Just an old security set up Grandpa forgot to take out. But the air was wrong. Sharp. Electric. Like a wire humming behind the walls. Like the house was holding its breath. I stepped inside. The floorboards groaned under my boots. Wallpaper peeled in strips, water stains tracing maps of time down every wall. Dust clung to the air like static. Every room I passed looked staged in decay. Furniture draped in yellowed sheets. A coffee mug still on the kitchen counter, fossilized with mold. I whispered, "It feels like he left yesterday." Then I saw the hallway mirror. Spiderweb cracks. Center shattered, like someone had punched it. Sometimes silence doesn't feel empty. It feels crowded. I moved faster. First floor dead. Second floor colder. The back bedroom had one window cracked, just enough to let in the sea fog. There was a desk under it. Oak. Heavy. Familiar. Grandpa's old office, maybe. I stepped closer. The air here smelled different. Salt, rust, and something underneath like burned rubber. The desk drawers were jammed. I tugged the middle one twice before it gave. Empty. Then I noticed the model ship on top of the desk. Dusty, rotted sails. A schooner, propped like it hadn't moved in years. Except the stern panel had newer screws. Different metal. Out of place. I leaned closer. My breath fogged the tiny glass windows. A flicker of memory hit me. Grandpa's voice in the garage years ago. If you want to hide something, hide it in something no one cares about. I popped the panel loose. It clicked. Inside, wrapped in plastic, a USB drive. Black. No labels. Next to it, a folded piece of yellowed paper. 5 words. If you're reading this, run. My heart dropped. I didn't run. I stayed kneeling, breathing too loud, listening too hard. That's when I heard it. A soft creak. Not mine. Below me. I froze. Another step. Footsteps on the floorboards. Someone else was in the house. I closed the drawer. Quiet. Slid the drive into my coat pocket. The paper I crushed into my palm. Cut scene. I stepped back slow. The hallway outside was still. The mirror was still cracked. No sado. No sound. But my legs wouldn't stop shaking. Voices in my head. You're paranoid. It's just the wind. You're imagining things. Then the front door creaked shut. No wind. Someone had come in. Or never left. I ducked into the hall closet. Slammed it soft. Heart hammering. Through the slats, I watched the stairwell. Silence. Then, a cough. Mail. Rough. Close. I held my breath until the blood roared in my ears. You ever wonder why people vanish? Grandpa once said that to me. I thought it was just one of his dark jokes. Maybe it wasn't. The footsteps moved again. He was heading upstairs. I had seconds. I bolted from the closet, down the side hallway, out the back kitchen door. My boot caught on the threshold. I stumbled into wet grass, mud flying. Ran across the sand-blown yard to the treeline. Didn't look back. My lungs burned by the time I reached the car. I didn't start it right away. Just sat behind the wheel, clutching the drive like it might explode. Then I saw something in the rearview mirror. A figure at the upstairs window. Silhouetted. Still. Watching me. The drive felt hot in my palm. As I pulled onto the road, tires spitting gravel, I remembered something Grandpa once told me when I asked why he never trusted banks. Because the truth is only safe when it's hidden in plain sight. But it never stays safe forever. I held the USB tight and heard footsteps on the stairs. I wasn't alone. And I wasn't safe. I didn't go home. I drove. Fog, curling off the asphalt. Radio off. Hands tight on the wheel. The USB drive sat in the cup holder, pulsing in my peripheral like it was radioactive. I didn't know where I was going until I passed a crumbling sign. Welcome to Calhoun County. Grandpa's name flashed in my head. Henry Marlowe, born and buried here. Maybe the truth started where his story ended. Cut scene. The only open place at 3:12 a.m. was a 24-hour diner with flickering neon. I pulled in, parked facing the woods. Sat for a full minute before getting out. Inside, it smelled like burnt toast and secrets. A waitress with too much mascara nodded me toward a booth near the back. No one else around, except one guy in a corner with a laptop, tapping like his life depended on it. I slid into the booth, unzipped my coat, set the USB on the table. I had no laptop, no way to see what was inside, and no idea who I could trust. My fingers hovered above it. Then I grabbed it, shoved it back into my pocket. No distractions. Not yet. The waitress poured me coffee. You're not from around here, she said, eyeing my wet hair and muddy jeans. Not anymore, I replied. She laughed. That's usually how people end up here, running from something. I didn't answer, just sipped the bitter coffee, burned my tongue. You ever think maybe the story's older than you? She added offhand. I looked up. She didn't explain, just walked away. The laptop guy glanced at me. We made eye contact. He looked down fast. Too fast. I left cash on the table and walked out. His eyes followed me. Cut scene. 20 minutes later, I pulled into the only motel with lights on. Paid in cash. Room 107. Smelled like bleach and secrets. Walls thin as regret. I plugged the USB into the motel's cracked Toshiba. It took forever to load. A folder popped up. Wrath Legacy. Click. Inside, PDFs, images, names. Marlowe Industries. Acquisition papers. Hidden transfers. Shell corporations routed through offshore banks. One folder named Dan. My blood froze. I opened it. Photos of a child. Same face. Different years. Age 6, then 7 then. One photo had my father's name written in the corner. Nathaniel M., handwritten. Sharp. Familiar. And another. A scanned document. Legal looking. Power of attorney. Transferring temporary guardianship of Daniel A. to Nathaniel Marlowe. Signed by Henry. Dated 7 years ago. Dan wasn't a stranger. Dan was family. Or worse. Dan was a secret. I kept clicking. Next file. Surveillance stills. Timestamps. Locations. The same beach house, different angles. A black SUV parked out front. 3 different days. Last week. 2 days ago. Tonight. They knew I was coming. My phone buzzed. No ID. I answered. A voice I hadn't heard in 2 years. Deep. Smooth. Dangerous. Celeste. My throat closed. Long time. Who is this? You found it, didn't you? He chuckled. Henry always liked you best. Who the hell are you? Pause. You know me. You just forgot. The line went dead. I stared at the phone like it might scream. Then, a knock at the door. 3 sharp taps. Too calm. Too slow. I froze. Didn't breathe. Didn't move. Another knock. I stepped back. Reached into the drawer. Nothing but a motel Bible and a cracked remote. 3rd knock. I whispered. If you walk toward fear, it can't chase you. I opened the door. No one there. But on the ground. A photo. Face down. Edgishvet. I picked it up. Turned it over. It was me. 6 years old. Holding hands with a boy. Same boy from the folder. Dan. And standing behind us. My father. Smiling. I didn't remember the photo being taken. I didn't remember Dan. But the camera had. And someone had just brought the past to my doorstep. The photo shook in my hand. Me. Dan. My father behind us. A picture I had no memory of. Delivered to a motel door at 3 in the morning. I didn't sleep. Didn't try. By sunrise, I was back on the coastal road, the ocean frothing, white against the rocks like it wanted to warn me off. The house sat in the distance, a crooked silhouette at the edge of the world. I parked behind a dune, so no one could see my car from the road. Learned that from Grandpa. If you want to stay alive, stay unremarkable. Cut scene. The house felt different in daylight. Not safer, just exposed. I stepped inside. Same creaking floor. Same gaping silence. Except now I knew someone had been walking below me. I moved room to room, scanning everything with the adrenaline clarity you get when you know you're being hunted. Dust. Rot. Mildew. Nothing new. Then a draft. Not from a window. From the bookshelf. I crouched. A faint line in the floor. A seam. Of course, I whispered. You were always better at secrets. I shoved the shelf hard. It slid 2 inches. Enough to reveal a small handle carved into the floorboards. I pulled. The trapdoor groaned open. A staircase descended into dim concrete. I hesitated. A part of me whispered, "Walk away while you still can." But another voice, Grandpa's, cut through the fear. Courage isn't loud, Celeste. It's the voice that says do it anyway. I descended. Cut scene. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. The walls were sweating. A single bulb flickered overhead, throwing sickly yellow shadows against plaster. This wasn't a storm shelter. It was an archive. Maps pinned across a pegboard. Blueprints. Red circles marking property acquisitions along the Carolina coast. Every one stamped with my family's corporation. A ledger sat open on the table. Recent entries. Wire transfers. Routing numbers. Offshore accounts hidden under shell corporations I'd seen on the USB. But the page that made my stomach twist was a legal affidavit folded between invoices. Petition for termination of temporary guardianship. Daniel A. Requested by Nathaniel Marlowe. My father. trying to cut Grandpa out of Dan's life. I forced myself to breathe. Next document, a photo. Nathaniel standing beside a man I didn't recognize. Tight handshake, fake smiles, a check being exchanged. A post-it stuck to the corner. He knows. Handle it. My pulse spiked. Then the lights cut. Pitch black. A soft static crackled overhead. Then a distorted voice filtered through an ancient intercom. You were supposed to leave this alone. I spun, searching the darkness. Who are you? The voice ignored the question. You think Henry saved you from this family? He buried you in it, and now you're digging your own grave. The bulb flicked back on. A speaker in the corner fizzed out. Footsteps thudded upstairs. Heavy, purposeful. He's coming down here. I scanned the room for exits. Found a narrow maintenance tunnel half hidden behind filing cabinets. I bolted, crawling through as dust and rust scraped my arms. The tunnel sloped upward until it hit a metal hatch. I pushed. It groaned open into a patch of grass behind the house. I rolled out coughing, my hands trembling, my clothes streaked with dirt. Cut scene. The moment I stood, tires crunched on gravel. A black Cadillac Escalade pulled into the overgrown driveway. Tinted windows, idling like a predator. The back door opened. My stepmother, Lorraine, stepped out like she was arriving at a garden party. Crisp linen, sunglasses, hair perfect despite the ocean wind. Hello, sweetheart, she said. Her smile was thin as a knife. You really shouldn't be here. My lungs constricted. Why do you care? Because, she said, circling me like she was appraising damage, your father asked me to keep an eye on you, and we don't like surprises. I found the room, I said. Under the house. Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes tightened just for a second. A glitch in the mask. You were never meant to open that door, she said softly. Henry built a world of problems. Your father has spent years cleaning up after him. Cleaning up, I repeated. By taking Dan. Her expression sharpened, an edge slicing through porcelain. Dan was a liability. A small one, yes, but liabilities have a way of growing into disasters. My blood iced. What did you do to him? She stepped closer, lowering her voice until I could feel her breath on my cheek. Dan wasn't supposed to survive that night, she whispered. Just like your grandfather. My knees went weak. Lorraine smiled wider, serene, monstrous. You really thought the past buried itself. The wind slammed the car door behind her like a gunshot. My heart stopped cold. And then she added almost kindly, You're next, Celeste. I drove hard through the fog. The night swallowed the headlights. Every mile felt like blood on the road. I had the photo. I had the files. I knew. But I had no proof. Not enough. Not yet. I needed Dan. Cut scene. Ruth's house was cold. Windows boarded. Wind banging against wood like fists on a coffin. I knocked twice on the door beneath the kitchen window. No answer. Third knock. Louder. The floorboards inside creaked. Someone moved. A figure slipped into view. Ruth, old and wide-eyed. She stepped backward. Listen, she hissed. You brought it down on both of us. I showed her the photo, the letter, the ledger. Her lips trembled. She said nothing. A distant engine. Rubber on gravel. I froze. Get Dan, I said quietly. Behind me, window. I swung around. Glass smashed. A metal bar slammed into my shoulder. Pain exploded. I dropped everything. Ruth screamed. I bolted for the back door with one arm. Pain seared. I didn't look back. Cut scene. I clutched Dan to my chest, sprinting through the woods behind Ruth's house. Branches clawed at my face. Dan's small body shook, his breathing ragged. I heard footsteps behind us. Faster. Then a gunshot cracked. Too close. I dove sideways, mud sprayed. Dan cried out. Hold on, I said more to myself. We cut through a line of trees, reached a dirt road, found the old pickup I came in. Keys and ignition, I didn't check. I hammered the pedal. Engine roared. Wheel spun. Tail light, glow swallowed us in red streaks. I glanced in the rear mirror. 2 silhouettes on motorcycles. They fell back, headlights bobbed. I pressed harder. Screamed. Not today, I hissed. Cut scene. I pulled up at a small gas station. Neon buzzing. No one else around. Dan in the back, shaking. I reached into my coat. Still had the USB, the ledger copy, digital backup. I dialed the number on page 1. Quinn's voice answered, harsh. Did you get it? I swallowed air. I have him. I have the proof. But they're coming. He sighed. Hang die. I'm on the way. Stay in light. Light, I repeated, not trusting. I hung up. Footsteps. Close. A shadow at the pump. I froze. So did Dan. You can't outrun what you carry inside. The shadow moved closer. He lifted a hand, holding nothing. I watched, heart thudding. He spoke low. Drop the child. Drop the drive. Walk away. I feigned calm. Dragged out my keys. Clicked the dome light on. Revealed me. Revealed Dan. Car started. Backup lights glowed. He didn't flinch. Raised a gun. Flash. I jerked the wheel. Tires squealed. I didn't hit him. I rammed the pump. Fuel spewed. Gasoline hissed. He dove. I slammed the truck into reverse, then forward, 2 heavy jolts. Gas sprayed, ignited. A roar. Flame. Cut to Dan screaming. Me screaming. Glass breaking. Lights exploding. Then black. I woke outside, tangled in seatbelt, fire raging behind the pump, sirens distant. Dan safe. Groaning. Clutching me. Flames carved the night, orange hands clawing the sky. I sat still, heart hammering, lungs burning. Smoke smelt like truth. I turned to Dan, soot-streaked face, tears in his eyes. Mom, he whispered. I nodded. Told him, I'm right here. Fog rolled in. Police lights bloomed. Helicopter whirred overhead. I handed the drive to a deputy. Spoke words I didn't plan. That's everything. He didn't ask questions. Just took it. Walked away. I watched him go. Cut scene. In the alley behind the station, a black SUV idled. Tinted windows. Engine idle. Tail lights glowed. Then vanished into the dark, silent as guilt. I closed my eyes. Held Dan tight. Promised him, we are going to be safe. I didn't know if it was true, but for now we were alive. The night smelled of salt and danger. Siren lights blinked red against the black sky. I held Dan close. His small body trembled like a leaf in a storm. Behind us, flames licked the gas station, surrounding the wrecked pump. Fire through long shadows carved the night into shards. I didn't know what came next, just that this was it. I handed the USB drive to the deputy with hands that didn't stop shaking. He took it without a word. Just thank you. Sirens closer now. A helicopter above. Spotlight cutting through smoke like a blade. I glanced back once. The black SUV, the one that tailed me, that haunted every turn, peeled away into darkness before police swarmed. Dan clung to me. Mama, he whispered. I nodded. In that moment, I felt a strange calm. Truth didn't scream. It burned, but it didn't lie. Cut scene. Weeks later, courtroom. Cold. Clinical. Judgment. Evidence laid bare. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, forged wills, illegal guardianship transfers. The judge slammed the gavel. Silence like an ocean hush. Guilty. Catherine Lorraine and Nathaniel Marlowe, sentenced. Dunn-S guardianship legally restored. Mine. Justice served. Outside the courthouse, wind fluttered a stack of press photos. Headlines. Hidden child, hidden crimes, the Marlowe family fallout. I closed my eyes as cameras flashed. Truth had a price, and I paid it. Cut scene. Back in the small coastal house, windows wide open. Waves crashed soft and low. Dan ran barefoot across the porch, chasing gulls. He laughed, a sound that cracked something in my chest and rebuilt it. I stood in the doorway. Sunlight flickered on the ocean, on the porch, on the small wooden boat model, the one Grandpa used to show me when I was little. He said, "A boat doesn't choose the sea. The sea chooses the boat." Maybe that's why I survived. Because someone chose me. Ik knelt beside den. He looked up, eyes full of salt and hope. "You saved me," he said. "No," I said. "We save each other." The file cabinets are gone. The shell companies dissolved. The house on the cliff was sold to distant strangers who don't know the ghosts inside. But I kept the photo, old wood and worn ink. Us as kids, smiling, before the lies, before the secrets. I pinned it on the corkboard in our kitchen. A reminder, sometimes the worst storms bring the clearest skies. At night, I stand on the porch. Ocean breeze tangles my hair. I breathe deep, smell salt, hear waves, and I tell myself I am still here. Truth lit the darkness. We survived. We live.